we now have 12 women chosen from 5 different African Great Lakes countries, representing all 7 of the African Great Lakes. So for the Blitz, we're bringing them over in May. We now have our dates set, and we have almost all of our organizations and stops established. We start by bringing the women over from various areas in Africa to Detroit. They'll be flying out on May 13th and arriving in Detroit May 13th of 2022. Now, our first stop is going to be Ann Arbor, Michigan, where we're going to have some basically rest after those long flights and having some ice-breaking events and then professional leadership training for part of the day in preparation for the next part of our trip. And the next part is really one of the cruxes of this trip, and it's to have each of the participants attend the Joint Aquatic Sciences meeting, along with the International Association of Great Lakes Research Conference. That takes place in Grand Rapids, Michigan from May 15th through 20th. You can imagine all of the benefits of attending a conference, including having public speaking skills, having their research identified and assisted by other experts. And then, of course, some of the most important things that we're working on are networking and strengthening the entire scientific community. So that'll take place in Grand Rapids, Michigan from May 15th through 20th. Now, we're not all just work. We're also going to get the women out to enjoy the North American Great Lakes. Lake Michigan, we're going to be going to Grand Haven, Michigan on May 21st for a sport, trout, and salmon fishing expedition. Right now, we're looking at getting funding for this, and hopefully we'll have enough funding to pull this off. And there's a nice process in Grand Haven whereby after you catch the fish, you bring them directly to one of the restaurants, and they prepare them in 4 different ways. And so we can enjoy not only the resource of being on the lake, but eating the resources that we catch. Well, heading back to Grand Rapids, where we have a professional leadership training for 2 days. That'll be taking place, as I mentioned, in Grand Rapids. And this leadership training will be dealing a lot with breaking down barriers, enhancing the women's ability to be the next leaders in Africa in the scientific institutions. We then head to Ann Arbor, Michigan and Detroit area in Michigan, where we're going to be visiting 2 organizations. The first one is the United States Geologic Survey, the Great Lakes Science Center. There we'll be visiting with various experts from the North American Great Lakes region and seeing some of their labs and equipment. On the 26th, we'll be visiting the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and we'll be actually getting on boats and going out and sampling fish, including the sturgeon. So we'll be doing actual field visits on the Detroit and St. Clair River. From there, we head on down to Sandusky, Ohio, where we're going to visit with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Ohio State and Ohio Ski Grant. We'll be on the lake for both of those days, including on DNR boats and vessels and seeing their lab capacity, and then in Stone Lab, which is on an island in the middle of Lake Erie. We then spend about a day and a half visiting some of the sites on Lake Erie on the southern shore, doing some tourism sightseeing, and then we end up in Niagara Falls, where we're going to tour and sightsee for about a day and a half on May 30th and 31st. That's, of course, we're entering Canada from the United States at that point. New developments have emerged, and we will be attending the Great Lakes Fishery Commission's annual meeting in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario. We have a special session with the United States and Canadian advisors and the African Women in Science program. And then the women will also be observers to the rest of the annual meeting, including advisors and then other top authorities throughout the North American Great Lakes. Another new stop is Burlington, Ontario for the DFO's Canada Centre for Inland Waters. We're going to be visiting their labs, and we're going to be visiting their vessels also throughout this region. From there, we head to the Toronto airport, and it's either June 3rd or 4th, we're heading up to Winnipeg. We're going to be visiting our colleagues at IISD, at the International Institute for Sustainable Development, June 4th and 5th. taking a little bit of a break after that whirlwind in the States and in Ontario. But from here, we're heading to driving to ISD, the Experimental Lakes area. We're going to be spending a full week with the African women and scientists, each of them going into the field, getting their hands dirty and wet, and hopefully being in waders and on boats and doing all kinds of sampling and seeing the research that's going on there. This, as well as the other stops that we've had, are also going to be huge networking opportunities for the women to engage with our scientists, to get connections with them, and to really strengthen the scientific network globally. At the end of this, of course, we head back to Winnipeg, back to the International Institute for Sustainable Development, meeting with our colleagues there. We're going to have a day of a break there. And then from this point on, we'll have a closing ceremony and, of course, bid our African women farewell. And we'll send them off to their various homes in Africa. And that should be taking place on June 12th of 2022. And that is the North American Blitz for the African Women in Science program.